Hello guys, Madoka Magica here, and today we're going to be doing something very different. This is a brand new type of content for my channel personally, and yeah. So, as you know, a couple days ago now, I released a breakdown of the most recent Walpurgisnacht Rising related information that we got released, being trailers and stuff like that, and I had briefly mentioned a character named Mabayu Aki. Now, I know very little about this character, and I know very little about the story she's from, which is Scene0, a prequel story to the main anime series. If I'm to be correct in my assumption, I'm pretty sure it first debuted in Magia Record, and I think got adapted for Magia Etc. So today we're going to be doing some due diligence, researching and reacting to exactly this story. First of all, I would like to sincerely thank Razielim, or Raz as I will say so I don't butcher their name, but thank you very much to Raz for allowing me to use their documented version of Scene0 for my reactions and videos. A link to their channel and to the video will be, of course, left below. Make sure to go subscribe to the original uploader. And yeah, so the goal and purpose of this video today will be, of course, to react to the content shown and to give a kind of as we go breakdown analysis of Mabayu Aki, because she's a very interesting character to me, and I feel like there is a lot there that I really want to learn about this character. I feel like she's probably going to be important to Walpurgisnacht Rising in some way, maybe not showing up, but I feel like her story, since I know it has something to do with Walpurgisnacht, is going to be fairly important. So, with that out of the way, I'm just going to do a quick volume check off camera and we will get into the reaction. Okay, volume check out of the way. That was like 10 minutes for me, but probably like a couple seconds for you guys. Anyway, in any case, let's get right into it, shall we? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to add on here is that probably the first 10 or so minutes of this is not going to be a fully blind reaction. I had watched a version of this prior, but it was an outdated translation. So this won't be I don't think this will be a fully blind reaction to like the first 10 minutes or so, but you know, we'll just see how it goes. So let's begin. Oh, and apologies in advance for any cuts in the video and stuff like that. I am not I don't have the greatest setup, obviously, so you know, expect some jank with the recording and that. I'm working on a pretty you know, rough setup. Anyway, let's just go. Oh, this is actually pretty different from what I saw then, huh? So we're being shown Mabayu's magical girl form right away. Okay, so I'm noticing it's only Mabayu, Madoka, Homura, and Mommy. That's interesting. Huh. So same building that Homura runs down in the main series, right, to fight Walpurgisnacht. Okay. For my own conscious, I'm just gonna drop the quality of this so we don't experience as many interruptions. Anyway. Okay. So they seem to be on good terms, which is good, right? Obviously, you want your team to be on good terms, but I'm surprised that she's actually a part of this team unit. Ooh, interesting. Those are definitely scissors, right? Hang on. Yeah, that was definitely like something being cut, which is interesting because Mabayu herself, it looks like her main weapon is scissors. You can even see here in her hair is like a scissor kind of ornament. Yep, pieces of film are being shredded. So first thing I'm gonna say is that I don't remember if it was a slot machine. I think it was a slot machine. So there's a slot machine game for the Madoka series. There's a bunch of them from what I understand, and one of them has a witch that I touched upon in the last breakdown video, which the witch's name is Aitsley, and in her boss fight, I think it is, there's like film reels to the left and right of her. I'm immediately obviously seeing a connection here between Mabayu and Aitsley. So it's interesting. Similar kind of visual to Homura's time magic, right? Oh, there's even a clock here to like reference that. So similar visual, right? Spiraling imagery with a central focus. That's interesting. Okay, first thing I'm actually noticing is obviously the scene zero, like the zero in the scene 0. Half of it is like looks like a regular digit, the other is like film reels. Notice that it's cut in half, and obviously this green paint splash is going through it. I wonder what this paint splash represents. Probably scissors, right? So that's interesting, right? Right off the bat, we're getting the idea of like this film reel imagery being split in half or being cut, stuff like that. One thing I do know from a previous version of this reaction I did was that Mabayu has memory issues. So I'm seeing this, it's like parts of her memory are being cut away. So I wonder how that's going to... Oh, that's interesting. Hang on, I want to see. So it's originally white here, and then obviously we get the flash to black. It's probably not important, but it is something I want to take note of. Sayaka in the auditorium again. Okay, so I say again, so anybody who has been keeping up with my analysis of Walpurgis Night Rising will know that I've been focusing on a scene that has Sayaka in an auditorium. So that's interesting. That's one of the that's the first shot of Sayaka we see. Obviously, there's also a link to the main series, right? The ending of the main series, Sayaka's in an auditorium listening to Kyosuke playing violin, and then it like transitions into a full-blown audience listening, stuff like that. Multiple soul gems for Kyoko. That's interesting. I'm not sure what the visual is there. Huh. Mabayu like in the foreground, never quite getting a lot of focus. That's interesting. I love this visual when I first saw it. That's the Connect visual. That's interesting. Multiple Madokas. Okay, yep, so we're definitely doing some stuff there. Yep, there's the scissor imagery again, cutting the timeline, cutting the film reel, stuff like that. Is that Mabayu or Homura? I'm gonna briefly turn up the quality just to take a look at that, just so I can see. One moment, sorry guys, bear with me. Okay, that's definitely Homura. Okay, so that's really interesting. So there's a lot of a focus on what seems to be Mabayu's relationship to Homura. I'm not missing the fact that she has purple eyes, which obviously thematically links her to Homura. Slight focus on Sayaka. Okay, not really. It's more of a... Huh. Okay, Homura giving an angered expression. Obviously, she is probably... opposing Mabayu, perhaps? Oh, that is a fucking awesome visual. Holy shit. Her hair is like a shredded film reel. That's so cool. You know what else this reminds me of? There's a visual in Rebellion where Homura, I think it's when Homura first rips, like right after Homura rips Madoka out of the Law of Cycles, her eyes like glaze over, and I could be making this scene up, but I'm pretty sure I remember a visual of like Homura laying back, her eyes glazing over, and they like take on a Technicolor flash. Kind of reminds me of this. Interesting visual again. So that's also kind of interesting, right? In the notes of my initial reaction to what we're going to probably see after this, I pointed out the idea that Mabayu is an isolationist, right? And I'm definitely picking that up here. Right, she's on the other side of the glass looking out. She's always in the background, stuff like that. So, this is probably going to be the content that I already saw. Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay, so I'm going to mute this for just a moment. Let this play in the background because this is content that I've already reacted to. I'm going to bring up the notes that I originally had from the prior version of a reaction I did here. So, the first thing I notice about Mabayu from about the first 10 minutes of Scene0 is that she appears to be very emotionally stunted, if that makes sense. It sounds like she's like hopped from foster parent to foster parent, or at the very least like lost her parents and moved under the care of Sakie, who is a character we'll meet shortly. She to me, very clearly feels like she doesn't belong, if that makes sense, right? We'll later see her talking to talking about Mami, seeing Mami reacting to friends, talking to friends and stuff like that, and she says like, oh, that's too much for a lonely girl like me. It's like she's comfortable in her loneliness. And one of the things I brought up, which we'll be able to talk about here now while this is playing, is her room, right? So in the notes that I had, I called it a classic depression room, right? Like you feel so overwhelmed by your feelings that you just don't even want to clean up the space that you're living in. It's just too much in the moment. But as we can see here, and as I pointed out in the notes, it's not like a messy clutter, right? Like there's a lot here and it is very cluttered, but it's not like a mess. It's just overwhelming, right? But it's a space that Mabayu can walk about in, right? It's a space that she knows the inner workings of. And I think that's pretty interesting as a distinction here, right? Because again, like I said, it's not a messy room, it's just a very cluttered room. It's like organized chaos, if that makes sense. It's like her depression, even though it's like very understated, it's leaking out a lot, right? And obviously there's a theme of forgetfulness. She has memory issues. I'm sure that this is going to have something to do with like her powers that we saw in the opening there, but if we're looking at this from like a different perspective of just like who Mabayu is as a person, as a character, what drives her, I feel like her memory loss could be a sign of PTSD, right? Something has obviously happened in her past. She's a foster child now. She obviously has coping mechanisms like, you know, being okay with being lonely, not wanting to get connected to people because it's like maybe too much effort. Here's the scene we were talking about with Mami. Let's watch this. There's another thing, right? The sun, it burns, eyes heavy, spirit fading, right? She doesn't want to be outside in the light because she likes the comfort of her own space, the space she knows how to navigate. It's tight and compact. She knows how to navigate it. She doesn't want to be out in this open area. It's too overwhelming. Yeah, see, this is kind of a lighthearted way of doing this. It's abuse to make me go to school, but like it really speaks to the kind of character she is, right? She I don't think she's just a loner for like being lonely. You know, I don't think that's just like a defining character trait. Obviously, something has driven her to be lonely. What are the things that have happened to make her feel like this, to internalize this? Second, I'm at my desk, I'm going back to sleep. She also finds a lot of comfort in sleep, right? Because, you know, dreams, it's a fantasy, it's a place where she can feel comfortable. And now here comes Mommy. So this is done really well. On my first reaction to this, I thought Mommy was actually talking to Mabayu, but obviously, as we'll see here... Okay, interesting. So, hang on. Okay, so that's interesting, right? The way the scene is set up, you would think she is talking to Mabayu, and it's exactly what I thought when I first watched the scene prior. But as you can see here, obviously, Mabayu herself also preemptively doesn't want anything to do with Mommy, and it's not hostility or anything like that. Well, it is kind of hostile, right? But she isn't outwardly aggressive to Mommy. She's just like, hey, you know, you've got your space, do your thing, leave me alone, I'm gonna be here, right? She's boxing herself in. Again, another callback to the idea of a small, compact area that she knows how to navigate. Sorry guys, just had to pause for a moment, my bad. Anyway, so yeah, and now she's saying, hey, leave me alone, it's got nothing to do with me. It's like, she sees Mommy has friends and she wants nothing to do with it because, you know, being herself is fine enough for her, but, doing anything else, reaching out to people, interacting with people is too much of an effort. But that's interesting, in the original version of Scene0, unless I completely missed it, which is possible, but at least from what I saw, Mommy had no reaction to that, so maybe the implication is maybe Mabayu did say something out loud? I would say probably not. I think it was more so she just saw Mabayu and was like kind of confused why she was like ignoring her, maybe? I don't know. But yeah, clearly Mabayu is an isolationist, right? And obviously something has happened to make her this way. Another interesting read on this. So the original translation of this kind of made it seem like when she came to school it was like, oh, I don't care about the other people around here, which is still the case here, but there's more of an emphasis of like, hey, you know, I've acknowledged that you're here now, leave me alone. So again, it's like doing the absolute bare minimum to interact and then immediately setting up a border. Another thing I pointed out in my original reaction was like a theme of repeating words or repeating themes, right? I'm pretty sure she opens this, like the day here opens with her saying, is it morning, is it night, something like that, and then it's repeated here, good morning and good. I think it's also interesting that she has a kind of attraction or kind of connection to like these inanimate objects, things that can't leave her, right? it definitely feeds into the idea of her wanting to make her world as small as possible so that the things she knows, so that she has enough things under control, right? And obviously, like I just alluded to there, inanimate objects, they can't run away, so she's connected to them, right? They can't leave her, so she forms a connection with them. That's at least the read I'm getting from this. So again, Mami's voice is clearly being spoken here. As we're gonna see, this is like a dream. So it's interesting too, right? Mami doesn't even appear to be in her class at the moment. Or maybe she is. Oh wait, no, I'm wrong. That's right. She is established as Mabayu's classmate. Right, so it does seem to be a dream, right? And that obviously makes us think of Madoka seeing Homura in her dream, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's Homura, stuff like that. Kyubei as well was in her dream speaking to her, and then boom, here comes Kyubei. So the idea that Mami is speaking to her in her dreams, obviously lines up with what we just saw in the opening. There's like, these two had some kind of connection, it seems. But it didn't really sound real. That's interesting. Although that makes sense, right? If it was her subconscious mind, like the subconscious isn't gonna perfectly recreate the voices you hear. And again, this repeated theme of memory loss, right? It comes back to the idea of her memory issues being like really prevalent to her, and like an actual viewing of this from a mental health standpoint, right? I'm just again immediately thinking of PTSD. Again, something has happened to her in her past that she suppresses, and it results in this need, or this result of her forgetting. Okay, so now I'm seeing that Sakie and Mabayu have the same surname. I don't know if that was established in the version of the of Scene0 that I watched, but now that I'm seeing it, yeah, they do appear to be related. Maybe Sakie is her sister? So I'm gonna be paying close attention to this. I fucking love the outfit she wears here. It's so cute. Anyway, I'm gonna be paying attention as much as I can to this cafe, specifically because of the cafe/cake shop that's in Walpurgisnacht Rising. I saw somebody say that they believed it could be a cafe that was in Scene0 in the comments of that video, and I'm pretty sure this is it. So I'm just gonna be keeping a close eye on stuff like this. Looking for specifically teddy bear motifs, anything like that. That's interesting. Again, so she just, in the original version of this that I watched, the translation wrote it more as if the customer was specifically asking Mabayu to do the latte art. But here it makes it a bit more clear that Mabayu actually preemptively assumed that she was going to be asked to do it, and she immediately defers to someone else. She immediately pushes it away. She doesn't want to do it. She doesn't want to get involved. So that's, again, a repeating theme of pushing people out, being comfortable in the space that she's already in.
かしこまりました。ねえねえ、ここの制服素敵だね。店員さんもちっちゃくて可愛い。いくつなんだろう。ちんちくりんで悪かったですね。
Interesting. So again, she obviously internalizes anything she perceives as criticism, as seen here. What am I, a circus show? For the criticism of being called, well, the perceived criticism of being called short. Again, and there we go again. Not like I'm here because I want to be. Again, she only does what's absolutely necessary. She doesn't want to put in, well, she doesn't or can't put in the effort for anything that's not absolutely necessary, and the most effort she puts in is for her comforts, which are all back home. Oh, it's her aunt. Okay. Okay, that makes things a little bit more. That makes things a little bit more helpful.
まばゆちゃん、これ奥の席にお願いね。はーい。って、あれ、早紀江さん。あらあら、ラテアートの出来栄えに感心しちゃった。確かに超リアルです。リアルですけど、これ犬ですよね。注文は猫だったんですけど。
So this is interesting. Again, so one thing I commented on, man, I just keep fucking saying everything's interesting, but to be fair, it is a very interesting story so far. Anyway, so in the original version of the reaction I did, I brought up the question of whether or not this scene could be trusted, right? Can Mabayu trust her reality? Did she actually, did Sakie get the order wrong? Or did Mabayu hear the order wrong? You know, it's interesting thought here, especially for somebody whose memory can't be trusted. Do we have an unreliable narrator?
笑ってごまかした。まばゆちゃん、お疲れ様。はい、これお手伝いのお礼のお小遣い。どうもありがとうございます。まばゆちゃんが手伝ってくれて、私本当に助かるわ。最近忙しいから、他にも誰か手伝ってくれると嬉しいな。私の知り合いとか当てにしないでくださいよ。
Ah, there you go again. So Sakie obviously wants or needs extra workers for the cafe. Mabayu doesn't want to help out with that. I'm reading this as Sakie actually not really needing the extra help, but it's more of a thing of like wanting Mabayu to like be proactive and stuff like that, and again Mabayu just ignoring it, deferring it to someone else.
あれ？やっぱりダメ？ダメに決まってます。普通にアルバイト募集してください。あらあら。
Of course, it's like here given as like just her criticizing her aunt, but obviously there's like a continued theme of her not wanting to get involved with other people unless it's absolutely necessary. And again, she's probably only involved with Sakie because of her being her aunt.
もうまた笑ってごまかすんですから。私は明日の仕込みがあるから先に気をつけて帰っててね。はーい。早紀江さん、パティシエとしての腕は一流なんですけど、それ以外は点でダメ。
This also kind of feels like it could be self-criticism, right? Like projection. You know, Mabayu is obviously pretty intelligent and capable, but hopeless, I guess, is a way of reading it. Especially if you're clearly self-loathing, like Mabayu appears to be. Hopeless could be a criticism, right? She's obviously has some talents that she's using, but isn't putting in the effort to be able to apply them to a lot of things, and again, unless it's absolutely necessary. Right? She's saying like, oh, if I wasn't there to help out, Aunt Sakie wouldn't have the business or whatever, stuff like that. You could also look at it, if it's projection, it's like, if Aunt Sakie hadn't have taken me in, I would have nowhere to go, which seems to be true. I'm really interested about her backstory. Oh my god. Oh, I'm fucking stupid. Of course, mommy would probably come by for cake, right? It's mommy, of course. Cake's like one of her main themes. Again, she is a really, really fascinating character. She does. I want to say, she kind of feels like Nagisa in a way, right? Like she's she does feel like she was always meant to be part of this original series, but like this story is like, it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain. Nagisa obviously debuted as a proper fully fledged character in Rebellion, but we didn't really get her backstory until Magia Record. We got the like full backstory of Nagisa, which is one of the series' best. I'm not gonna lie, I fucking love the Nagisa story. Anyway, I'm kind of getting a similar vibe here from Mabayu, right? She has something to do with the main cast in some way, but is like, you know, there might not have ever been a way to introduce her without something like this. So film is one of her comforts, right? Watching these old movies is like a comfort for her, or a coping mechanism maybe, right? Like the first thing I think about there, right, is like escapism. Which is fine, but like here's what I was going to bring up here specifically. So Mabayu has memory issues, and yet when it comes to something that she absolutely loves and adores, which is these movies, boom, not that I need a refresher or anything, I've got the whole plot memorized, right? If it's something that's very specifically important to her, then it's something that's going to stay on her mind. I think of ADHD, right? I kind of suffer with like the memory loss portion of ADHD, where unless it's absolutely necessary, absolutely very important to me, I'm very likely to forget things. And I'm kind of getting a similar reading here. I could quote these in my sleep.
To be continued. 今から見ると、睡眠時間取れるでしょうか。いや、しかし夜食のケーキも大量にあるし。はは、手が滑って再生ボタンをポチ。目覚ましがどう
This is kind of funny.
焼き始めた。
So it is obviously kind of fun. Oh, is it a reference to Wallace and Gromit? That's kind of cute. Anyway, so she's obviously, this kind of ties back into what I was talking about during the cafe scene, right, with the latte art. I wonder if Mabayu, again, if her reality can be trusted. Can she trust her reality, right? She's like, oh no, my hand's already on the play button, but like, if you strip that away from like the comedic aspect of it. It's like, well, why doesn't she remember going for the remote, stuff like that, right? It's like, obviously the magic is gonna play a part of this, but you know, this show isn't just about the magical girls and like the magical aspect and all that. It's like there is obviously something more here. And again, I'm preemptively linking it to trauma from something that happened in the past to her. It's like suppression, stuff like that. And then and then obviously we get the most interesting parts. So like the background clearly shows it. This is Homura's time stop. So maybe things she's forgetting or not realizing are happening, whatever, could be a result of time freezing and it not like occurring to her, stuff like that, obviously. But like, as you can clearly see here, she's moving around in Homura's time stop, which is a big red flag. Things that move around in Homura's time stop can only do so if Homura is connected to them. So, and Mabayu doesn't seem to be connected to Homura in any way that we know of. So this is interesting, right? And whoops, and even more so, as we just saw there. Sorry, I skipped ahead a little. But as we see here, she's able to interact with stuff in the time stop and make it move. So it's like she's actively pushing against Homura's time stop. She's not even aware of the rest of like everything being frozen too, which is really interesting. It really brings in to question what it would be like to experience this time stop firsthand, right? So she doesn't appear to see anything else up with like the rest of her room or anything. I mean, to be fair, it's not like a lot would have been moving around in this room, but still. Right, and then again, it's so fascinating to have a character that can like work against Homura's time stop to such a degree, right? Obviously Rebellion had the stuff with Mami, right? The legendary Mami versus Homura fight, but again, that was literally only because of Mami having like a ribbon attached to Homura, right? That's the only reason that she kept up. I mean, it's still incredible that she did, but like it's so fascinating to see this with like, this character who doesn't even seem to have any magical powers that we know of. I mean, maybe she does, but like I don't see a soul gem ring anywhere. And she's so nonchalant about it, right? Because it doesn't really do anything detrimental to her, so she doesn't really care. She's like, oh well, you know, time may have messed up, but hey, you know, got a bonus hour and all that. So this is about where I cut up from the original one, because the original videos I was going to watch did like every day separately as a video. I think I'll do about halfway through this. I don't know how many days this covers, so yeah, we'll do about halfway. I'm gonna just pause the recording for now, go grab a drink, and yeah, we'll be back. Okay, and we are back. Alrighty, so let's continue. Also better like the video. Okay. So finally, new content to react to. Here we go. So day 2. Okay, similar wake up as the day before, right? Alarm clock waking her up. Yep, again, more of wanting to return to comfort, wanting to return to sleep, returning to dreaming, stuff like that. Probably fell out of bed, yeah. So I wonder if she dreamt. Haven't felt this well rested, huh? But she was awake for a long time the night before, but she considers this well rested. Dude, how much sleep are you fucking getting? It seems like none, basically. So that's another sign of, to me, depression, right? Depression can make you like, your depression can get even worse if you have a lack of sleep, right? And it kind of feeds into each other. You feel like you don't want to sleep because, like, your emotions are going haywire, but also your emotions going haywire are making it harder for you to sleep. Stuff like that, I can relate to that heavily. So that's interesting that we have, like, sleep being a theme for her, right? She keeps wanting sleep but doesn't get a lot of it. It could just be insomnia, right? But, like, considering everything, it seems to be linked to depression. And it's really fucking depressing that she considers what probably wasn't a lot of sleep to be a refreshing night's sleep. Okay, that's kind of funny. Did Zero prep for this? No backup, no hope. That doesn't help you though, right? She's relying on her comforts to help her instead of actually getting the backup that she probably really needs. Turns out she did not yet. What a shock. It's not even a genre. And again, when the going gets tough, she wants to retreat. Doesn't feel like something from a dream, but, like, you know, that's actually a fair point, right? We look at the original Madoka Magica first episode, right? The title of that episode is I Met Her in a Dream or Something, right? The or something is pretty big to me, and I don't really see a lot of Madoka theorizers or, like, Madoka analyses videos touch on this. But, you know, those dreams were obviously not just dreams, those were memories for Madoka, right? It's why she was able to design her magical girl outfit in her notebook, stuff like that. It's because it was memories. So it's probably the same thing here, especially for someone who has, like, a theme around losing memories. It's clear that wasn't a dream. It's definitely a memory of some past timeline bleeding in.
またどこかから声が聞こえてこないですかね。それで
Whoa. Whoa, what was that?
テストの答えを教
Is she talking to herself? Is it herself giving her the advice?
えてくれたりしない？しないですよね。
Or is it...
あれ？はい？しないですよね。
Yeah, that's definitely her, right? That's definitely Mabayu's voice.
あれ？
So that's a very different take on Homura's time magic, right? When she goes back, it's not like she's actually going back in time. She's jumping to a new timeline, right? She's jumping to a different timeline. She isn't just like going back and meeting herself in the past. Maybe Mabayu's time magic works very differently, where her time travel is more like it doesn't create a branching timeline. It like goes back to that point in time, right? So Mabayu could go back and meet herself in the past. That's...
なんか様子が変。
I mean, that's assuming
何の音もしなく
that's assuming that that voice was actually true. Oh no, the purple flash is obviously Homer's time stop. I don't know why I didn't notice that. That's stupid. But still, might be something to
でも
keep
ペ
in
ンを
mind.
動かしてない。こ
But
れ
I
っ
do think I jumped the gun there. I jumped the gun there.
てどういう？
So is Homura here?
あ、やば。嘘。空中に鉛筆が浮かんでる。
Okay, so there's what I was talking about, right? Whenever nothing is attached to Homura, things get frozen in her time stop. So the same is happening to Mabayu. Anything she isn't touching doesn't move through time during this time stop.
違う。時計の針も動いてない。時間が止まってるんだ。
So why is this happening to Mabayu? Why is she able to perceive the time stop? And then everything just... we don't even see the end of the day. So that's
テ
interesting.
スト中のあれ何だったんでしょう。結局止まったのは一瞬で、いつの間にか時間が進んでましたし。まあ
I'm trying to think of what would be happening during this time for Homura to be time stopping. If we had a point of reference as to when this was, that'd be great. So obviously Mommy is going to the school, so it's before her death. I didn't catch if Mommy had a soul gem ring or not. So, well, she has to. I don't know why I said that. Obviously, she has to have a soul gem ring. She would have made her contract with Kyubey like a long time ago at this point. So this is obviously happening before Mommy dies, at least to Charlotte, if we're going off of the main TV series as a point of reference for a timeline. So what would Homura even be doing to be time
お
stopping
か
like
げでカン
this?
ニングできたので大変助かりましたが。ラッキー。って何ラッキーで済ませてるんですか。
She is really cute.
時間が止まったんですよ。時間が。
But see, her reaction was initially just to brush it away, but then it's like, hey, I actually can't ignore this. This is like detrimental to me now. I need to take notice. So there you go. There's another point of that theme, right? Of like not wanting to extend any effort unless it's absolutely detrimental and absolutely necessary.
カンニングとかで喜んでる場合じゃないでしょ。
But she's viewing it through movies again, right? Her comfort. That's not to say she isn't taking it seriously. It's just that how she's viewing it is through like many different lenses.
か。私疲れてるんですかね。
Gee, I wonder, do you guys think this girl is stressed?
サキエさん。なに、マバユちゃん。ほっぺ、つねってくれませんか。え？いれれれれれ。ちじゃない。いや、とりゃ。大丈夫。もう大丈夫ですから。サキエ。
Okay. Barring that comment, obviously we know why she was doing this, but there's another thing, right? She put in a bit of effort, but the second it came to be like too much for her, she's like, no, stop. I mean, obviously Saki was like probably pinching a bit too hard for her liking, but you know, still, again.
今日は様子が変よ。また夜更かししちゃった？そうじゃないんですけど。あれ？何？サキエさん、あそこ、お店の入り口。
You motherfucker, of course. So this is probably going to be resulting in Saki saying, hey, I can't see it or whatever, you must be hallucinating, you need to go to sleep. Is what I'm going to guess, right?
なんだろう、あの生き物。猫？じゃないですよね。いつものく。
Oh, that's really interesting too. Wait, what?
猫ちゃんかしら。
Amy? Is it Amy?
Amy ってな。
No fucking shit. Holy crap. Wait, that's... So this is tied to the fucking drama CDs. This is before the drama CD. Holy crap. Okay, quick recap for those who don't know. So the drama CDs, I touched upon this in the Opaga's Not Rising breakdown. Dude, oh my god, that's such a deep cut. So the drama CDs are Japan exclusive media that like tells like side stories, and for the longest time they weren't really considered canon from what I understand. But holy crap. So the first drama CD, it goes over what Madoka's original wish was, which was to save a black cat named Amy after it had been hit by a car. No, what? It's never been referenced in the series. It was referenced in Magia Record, I think, because it was like a recap of Madoka's history and stuff like that, but the drama CDs have never really been referenced. In the most recent trailers, we get a character who I'm pretty sure is a witch from the fourth drama CD, right? There's a witch named Paola who is exclusive to the drama CDs, and there was like a back and forth debate I had with a couple of friends where I was like, oh, you know, there's no way they've pulled from the drama CDs, but here we are. They've made the drama CDs relevant and they keep doing it, so they are pulling from very obscure parts of the franchise. That's so fucking cool. Wow, who could have seen that coming? Anyway. I can't fucking believe Amy's in this. So is this gonna show Madoka's first wish? Dude, fuck, that'd be so cool. Oh, that's an adorable outfit. Okay, yeah, she does have her ring.
お食事ですか？お持ち帰りですか？ええ、持ち帰りでお願いね。私に気づいてないですかね。
She definitely does. I'm gonna say mommy obviously recognizes her, right? It's known coincidence that Kyubey was there and now Mami's there. Like, obviously Kyubey and Mami had a pretty close link in the original series.
私クラスでも存在感が薄いぼっちですし気づかれたら気づかれたで説明が面倒。どうしましたか？なんでもないわ。
Yeah, she obviously recognizes her.
レモンケーキとザッハトルテをもらえるかしら。ありがとうございます。今日も一日勤労に励んで偉いですね、私。さて、お楽しみの映画タイム。
You unwind all the time, and you know what? Fair enough. I kind of relate. So I'm gonna make a really specific comparison here. If any of my viewers are familiar with Final Fantasy VII, you'll probably know exactly what I'm about to say. So there's a game in the compilation of FF7 called Crisis Core, and what it is it's a prequel to the main story of the original 1997 game. And in that story, there's a character named Genesis, who is revealed to be like a character who was supposed to be secretly in the background of the story the whole time, and stuff like that. As it was presented in Crisis Core, it was like a very mixed reception to that story, right? There was like, you either love Genesis or you hate Genesis. I bring that up because it's really interesting to see Madoka Magica doing something like this, right? She's also kind of similar to the Sentry from Marvel Comics. Sentry was like this super powerful hero who has been like around saving the world like years before the Avengers, years before the Fantastic Four, stuff like that. And he was like a well-known and well-respected hero, but he had a dark side named the Void that took over, and so obviously to stop the Void, the Sentry, Bob Reynolds, basically destroyed both sides of himself, and doing so erased his, like, it erased the existence of the Sentry from the public memory, and it's like he never existed despite doing everything that he had for people. It's very different from the version that was depicted in the Thunderbolts movie that released last year, but yeah, it's really interesting to see Madoka Magica doing something like this. I think it's going well so far. It kind of just depends on how Mabayu is like intertwined in this whole mess. But yeah.
40億円、指輪がつなぐ恋の物語。いきなり予算を前面に出すのかなり嫌な予感はしますが、そういうの私大好物ですよと。
Kind of a hopeless romantic? That's interesting.
では再生。
At least that's the vibe, right? She seems to like her love stories.
眠い。そして予想通りのぼんやり感。そんな指輪を便利アイテムで使われてもピンとこない。あれ？指輪といえば私も指輪。
Whoa. So she does have a soul gem ring, but at least I'm assuming that's what this is, right? That's not Homura's, is it? I'm pretty sure it's not. But how does she have a soul gem ring and it not be affecting her that it's not near her? Does she remember making a wish with Q? Whoa. Whoa, that's interesting. So I don't know what Mabayu's wish is. What if... Is it possible for a magical girl to wish to forget contracting with Kyubey? That's... ooh. It could also just be, uh-oh, there's the word wish. It could also just be Homura's, but I'm pretty sure it's not. No, you know, dude, that'd be so fucking cool if they actually explored the idea of a magical girl wanting to wish, like, wishing to forget something like that.
最近ぼーっとしすぎじゃないですか、私。
Now, more time stop, or are we just going to the next day? Okay, that was a really loaded day. Holy crap! I'm wow. This is sure is something, huh? Okay, we're starting in the cake shop today. No prison clocks, no cookie dreams, no disembodied voices. Okay. Nope. Again, it's like it really. I keep touching on this, like I keep repeating this, but like it does seem very central to her character that it's like she's a character that's very passive, right? Which is probably why her story is like presented like this. Like she was there in the background, but nobody remembers, right? It's because of her being a passive character, because of her not wanting to put in the effort to connect, or not being able to put in the effort to connect. It's an interesting idea. Maybe I got used to the drama. That's so, oh, man, like as somebody who's like super deep into the Madoka Magica lore and theory crafting community, it's like, yeah, this is so cool. It's so fucking cool to me to see Amy be relevant, right? Like, I love it. I love this.
Amy,
oh shit, but what if this is like, I'm trying to remember like when the thing with Amy happens in the drama CD, because I saw it was dusk right there. So I wonder if, I'm trying to remember, it's like either at dusk or at night. So we, oh, holy shit. So she is a magical girl. Well, like obviously she has a soul gem ring. But she's experiencing all other memories. Like, whoa. Yeah, so this is the thing from Drama CD 1, Memories of You. Amy gets killed, and Madoka's wish is to save her. So she's like experiencing other timelines as memories. Yep, there you go. She's seeing like past, maybe even future timelines as like memories, but how? What was her wish to get something like that? She's like gonna rush out. Amy's not in any danger, right? That's really fucking insane. So it's like also disassociation, right? Like, because obviously this, I'm assuming this isn't happening. Ooh. Although it could also just be a premonition, right? Because she saw this as a memory at first, and then now she's repeating it. So is this actually happening?
しも私が時間を操れるなら
Well, you can't, but...
時間よ止まって
Wow. Okay, so it's not so much that she's having memories of the past, it's like premonitions of the future. That's an interesting angle. Dude. Dude, this... Wow. I can't believe we're actually just seeing like a... with all due respect to the creators of the game, like a crude recreation of Drama CD1. That's so fucking cool. I love this. Not the cat being hit by a car, just to clarify.
お嬢ちゃん泣かないで獣医さんに連れて行きましょう
Oh, that's interesting. So, from what I remember in the drama CD, right, Madoka makes the wish right away.
お嬢ちゃん、お名前は私、まどか。要まどかです。私は、秋咲江。そこのケーキ屋さんの店長よ。まどかちゃん、車を出してくるから、ちょっと待ってて。あ、はい。ということで、まばゆちゃん、店番お願いね。わかりました。
Wow, that went a very different way than I was expecting. So this obviously isn't Drama CD 1's timeline, or like the very first timeline.
大丈夫ですかね。咲江さんの話だとかなり危ない手術だって。
Pretty risky surgery, okay.
それにしても
Then again, they could just be altering how Drama CD 1's events play out, but we'll see.
時間よ止まってだなんて我ながら恥ずかしいことを言ってしまいました。時間が止まるわけないのに。
Yeah, you don't seem to be able to control time, but like you had a... That's so interesting. I wonder what the wish was to cause it, right? Maybe it is just as simple as like I wish I could see what was coming, something like that, but like it's never that simple. If we had an idea of what her powers were.
あの子は要まどかさん？うちの学校の制服でしたね。時々エイミーに餌をあげてるのを見たような気もしますけど。エイミー、みんなに好かれてましたもんね。
This fucking cat's the linchpin, man. I feel like Amy might even show up in Walpurgis Rising at this point, right?
無事に怪我が治るといいな。
Hope she makes it back okay. Well, I'm sure she's going to, right? Because of the stuff. Oh, it's probably just her aunt. Never mind. Like, who the hell would be knocking on the door? Yeah.
まばゆちゃん、お店ありがとね。手術に時間がかかっちゃって。
Okay.
エイミーはどうなりましたか？
Damn.
それなんだけれど。
Really?
手術は
Shit, man.
失敗したの。一度心臓が止まってお医者さんももうダメだって。
Damn, bro.
そんな。
That fucking sucks.
私もがっかりしちゃって外でぼーっとしてたんだけどね。その後
Oh, no way. So Madoka has made her wish. Okay, I was gonna say, oh, I bet it's like they're gonna do the Drama CD1 thing, right? Madoka makes her wish to save Amy, and they are. Wow.
エイミ 兄の心臓が動き出して助かったのよ。助かったんですか？
So I wonder how this is going to play out, right? Because so Homura has her time stop ability, clearly. So is this before she made the pact with Madoka to not let her become a magical girl? Right? That does seem to be the case here, right? Because otherwise we probably would have seen a reset of some kind. And obviously Mabayu can, like, bypass Homura's time stop, so I wonder what that would mean for her if Homura was to reset the timeline. The vet said they'd never seen anything like it. Right, so it was a miracle. That's kind of interesting too, right? That's... Whoa. Hang on. You laid her to rest in some ancient burial ground and she clawed her way out. That feels like it's a reference to Homura in Rebellion, right? She's obviously in the glass coffin. That is the entrance to her labyrinth, but she ends up clawing her way out. Thing. What kind of miracle doesn't happen? It clearly does, and you have made one of those miracles, but we don't know what that miracle is. So I wonder if what we saw at the start also was like a flash into the future rather than the past. Where it's like she's kind of able to view everything that's happening all at once. Something like that. I'm trying to think of the word for that. Omnipresent? If you live each day with a good heart, the heavens might smile upon you. Huh. Huh. Again, she's hesitant to the idea of actually opening up and doing things. It's definitely a coping mechanism of some kind. Okay. Whoa, wait, whoa, that's a... Okay, I was gonna pause that, but like on day 6. No, I think I will pause here, actually. Because I don't want this video to end up being too long. Like, it's gonna be pretty long. It's like an hour already. But yeah, so that was my reaction to the first, probably 8th. It looks like I'm looking at the videos here. To like the first section of Scene0. What an incredible start, honestly. I'm very fascinated by Mabayu. She's a really, 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 really interesting character. I'm very excited to like keep reacting to this, but what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna leave this video up and we'll just see what the reaction to this new type of video is and stuff like that. And yeah, all relevant links will be down below, stuff like that. Once again, thank you very much to Raz. I've been a fan of the content for ages. I've been following since the Magia record days. Guys, again, make sure to go subscribe to them, leave a like, and if you guys enjoy this, please like, comment, share your thoughts on Mabayu. Obviously, please no spoilers for anything past day 3 so far. But yeah, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye.